The soap that I made in my last video was colored entirely with natural clays, a little bit of indigo powder for blue, but all natural colors. And while I liked that all right, those colors were quite pale. So in the soap I'm going to make here, I'm again using those same colorants, but punching them up a little bit with a small amount of colorful mica in each one. So here's my recipe. Castor oil, coconut oil, lard, sunflower oil, that's high oleic, and beef tallow. Should be a nice slow-moving recipe. I'll enhance it with a little bit of sugar and some sodium lactate, and I'm using lemongrass oil as my fragrance. And here are the colors. As I say, the same clays as I used in the last video, but you can see there then the micas that I'm using to brighten them. Those are all from Nurture Soap. I have my colors already in the pitchers, and I have put a little bit of water on them to get them wet. The one with the indigo, I've also added a tablespoon of oil because the indigo absolutely won't mix with water. My lye water, which has the sugar in it, is at 118 Fahrenheit. My oils at 104 Fahrenheit. I've also put sodium lactate in there. And then I have my lemongrass essential oil here. No particular reason for not putting it in yet, but I'll put it in right before I distribute the colors. So I just want to bring this to a good emulsion, and then I'll separate it into the colors. And I will put the lemongrass oil in now. And as I often do, I'll speed the video up when I'm doing something repetitive and boring like this. I have propped up the corner that I'm going to pour into so that the soap will run across the bottom of the mold easily. I've also put a piece of tape here around this edge because I tend to be rather messy when I pour, and I really don't want soap going down between the silicone liner and the wooden outside of the mold. So I think I'm going to pour these in rainbow colors order. And on a corner pour like this, I like to get at least 6 cycles of colors. I find when students try this, they often get mixing of colors on the edges of them, and it turns kind of muddy. And a good way to avoiding that is to make sure that your soap is actually running down the wall of the mold rather than dropping directly into the soap below it, and you won't get any mixing then. It's also important to kind of watch the bottom of your pitchers to be sure you're not dipping them into your already poured soap. So there's 2 completed cycles. There was 3 cycles. I've also said on other videos that in a pour like this, you should keep watching the level of soap remaining in each of your pitchers. And if one of them is a little more full than others, use more of it next time. And if one of them is less full, use a little less. So that you end up with approximately the same amount of soap of each color on each cycle. A little bit of variability won't matter, but you don't want to run out of one color before you're done pouring. That's 4 cycles, and I'm going to end up with more than 6, I can already tell. There's 5 cycles. When I started pouring this, it was noticeably more viscous than when I first started mixing it, but not at trace. I think just about now it's coming to trace. And that's okay, as long as you've got a good emulsion. It shouldn't separate later, but you do want to be sure it's emulsified. I believe that was the 6th cycle, so I'm going to get 8 out of this. Maybe 9. Yeah, I'll go for 9. I'll pour all but just a little bit here. So the last cycle will be a lot smaller volume of each color. But that'll make a particularly pretty bar right there in the pouring corner. Now, I'll take out my props there. And what I want to do now is make radial stripes from the pouring corner, always returning to the pouring corner. I also find when students start trying this, they're tempted to make these lines curved so they don't run into each other. But I think it's best to make them as straight as you possibly can. And then down here where we've got some really wide stripes, I'm going to add an extra stripe in between. I was using the handle of a chopstick. Now I'm going to use the eating end, the pointy end, and I'm going to do some semicircles here, just at the base for that first bar, really. I think I'm going to leave the rest of that as it is. I don't want to muddy it up. So I will spray that with alcohol and put the plastic bar dividers in and cover it up and let it cure overnight, and we'll have a look at it tomorrow. I'm glad I used that tape. Here is the finished swirled soap without the divider bars put in yet. And here it is with the bar dividers. The soap is nearly 24 hours old and I have unmolded it. So here you can see some of the patterns. I think it turned out pretty well. The colors are brighter than I had expected. If I do this again, I may use the same amount of clays but less micas. There, that one on the far right is the one that was in the pouring corner. And then these are sides of the bars. The one on the far left was against the mold wall, the silicone, and then the other two were where the bar divider pushed down through. And these are ends. Again, the one on the far left was against the silicone, and the other two were against bar dividers. And then these are bottom sides, just kind of boring, rusty red. But I'm really pretty pleased with these. I think they turned out pretty well.